Hello and welcome. Alright, in our last episode, we went ahead and we built the dropper over here. Let's go ahead and just do a quick flyby of it again. And I have three things left that I wanted to do at this base. For the first thing, I need to go ahead and set up a loading zone for a large grid ship to be able to come by, pick up materials, and leave. And I'm going to be placing that somewhere over there. The second thing is once I build the loading zone, I then need to build the large grid ship to then, leave with. The third thing, though, is that right now the number one most important thing that I need to do is find ice. Like I have an ice mine over there. It's kind of pitiful. It's honestly pathetic. So I want to go find an ice lake. Because my next big task is to go ahead and set up at an ice lake, and then we will go ahead and get all the ice and hydrogen that we need for going to space and for running a farm. So this brings us to task number 3, which is finding that. Now, I could go ahead and take one of my miners or my little transport out, but that's like using them not for what they're meant for. And one of the big things that I'm trying to do with this series is each building, each vehicle has one purpose. And I kind of ruined that with this building. If I went back and redid it, I probably would separate these out. Um, but for scouting, I need a new ship. So let's come on in here and build something. All right. So I want to come in here. Go ahead and continue my black vehicle trend. And then I want small grid. Fine, be that way. Okay. And I'm just going to call this Scout, and then I'm going to lock it. Alright, so with a Scout ship, what do I need to do? First off, I do need to have an antenna, so there's going to be an antenna somewhere on the ship. Next, I need an ore detector, because one of the things that I'm likely going to scout for is more ores. I mean, again, those guys can do it. That thing can do it even better. But, scout around, find that. And then I also need a camera. So, beyond that, that's about it. So let's go ahead and just see what cockpits we have to choose from. Got the standard cockpit. Nothing too wrong with that. The flush cockpit is basically the standard cockpit, but slightly longer. Maybe. The fighter cockpit, that's going to be too big for what I really want this ship to be. Industrial, maybe. Cab, I could do the cab, but I'm not too enthused. I think we can go with a normal cockpit, and part of the reason is because I can just stick that large connector right on the bottom right there. Okay. Next up, let's go ahead and grab a battery. And let's see if we can make this ship run off just this battery. Let me plop that into recharge. Alrighty, there we go. So that's now recharging, and hopefully that's fully charged by the time we are ready to start flying. Alright, so I'm going to need an antenna and an ore detector. Now, I could make this a tiny little ship, and basically just like stick a big thruster on the back, something like this, and then a little bit of side thrust, front thrust, back thrust, and call it a day. But, so a way that I can make this more interesting. Yeah, let's go ahead and do a little bit of armor shaping. Now let's cut that one off. No, wait. Yeah, no, we'll go up this one, come out, and then and then basically just have little wings coming out the side. I want to keep the cockpit clear, so let's go ahead and push that back one. There we go. And then I can also tuck a little forward-facing engine in, kind of right here. And then maybe another one right there. Nah, let's not do that one. Alright, so that's upward thrust. We'll repeat that on the other side. Put forward thrust in there. Then let's go ahead and put a tail on this thing. And for backwards thrust, let's go ahead and stick this on. And then let's go ahead and stick the ore detector on the back of the tail. Do I like that? Because I could also go ahead and like stick the ore detector down here. Now let's stick the ore detector down here. And 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and no, not that. Did the wrong thing. There we go. And then we can go ahead and stick some sideways thrust with a little tail like that. And then put a gyro on right there. and then repeat on this side. There we go. And I'll just do a little bit of armor shaping there, and then yeah, we'll stick the antenna on right there. I want a full block right here. Do I have this on here? No, I don't. Okay. And, ooh, actually, I could, hang on. Do I want to do that, or do I want the top-mounted camera to be, like, right here? Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so that's going to be forwards thrust, backwards thrust, down thrust, left thrust, right thrust, gyro, antenna, ore detector. Yeah, I think this is basically everything that this little ship needs. So I'm going to go ahead and start welding things up, mimic all this stuff on the other side, do a little bit of armor shaping, and we'll be back in just a minute. All right. So I've finished one side. Still need to do the other side to mirror it. But you can see all this is all welded up. I did a bunch of armor shaping over here. Um, kind of got that wing out. If you look from above, again, still just looking to have something that looks visually interesting. Um, Still a little bit of air intake for that one. You can kind of see where the thrusters are. Um, but yeah, the other thing is I went ahead down here next to the ore detector and I stuck my event controller on. So this is going to be stuff like set up auto recharge when the connector is connected, etc., etc. Oh, hush puppies. And then, of course, my action relay because I want to open this. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and repeat all of this on this side. As you can see, the battery is already ready to go. So hopefully, now that I've done it once, I can speed through it pretty quickly again. And yeah, I'll be back in just a minute. All right, we are now done with the general shape. And now it's time for a bit of coloration. Again, I am making use of the paint gun mod, which basically just lets me go in and do this rather than having to do the normal way of painting. Um, it is not a mandatory mod in any way. It's just a neat little quality of life improvement. Um, and it means that I don't need to do things like plan ahead quite as much. I enjoy not thinking ahead. Yeah, so like you can see right here, I was able to get that bottom block through this top one because I can see it. Whereas normally I would have to do something like, well, in this case, come to the side or underside. But like if I had, for instance, lights on the sides, I wouldn't be able to paint that one. Another example is I would not be able to paint this block behind the sensor because the sensor's here, or this block behind the action relay because, well, that's there and I can't put that next to it. But with the paint gun, I can. So it's a neat and nifty little quality of life thing. See, I was able to get that block there. And yeah, I think just black, little white stripes. Um, I kind of want to do a blue somewhere. Hmm. Hey, you know what? Let's make this blue and white. I'm feeling blue and white today. Maybe we'll keep a little bit of black, like for the cockpit. And if we wanted a lore reason, um, it would because this is a more of a personal craft and not an OHI industry craft. Hmm. Ooh, I like this blue, white, and then still a black stripe on the bottom. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. All right. Or, I can fail at jumping as usual. Do I need to use the paint gun for this? No, but half the reason I'm doing this painting is because of the paint gun. Whee! There we go. Now that's a nifty looking vehicle. Alright, now that I'm done with all of that, let's go ahead and hop on in here, and I'm going to look at Scout. I am going to go ahead and set switch lock, and then I am going to go ahead and switch that. I don't have power now, so let's just do a quick check. Okay. Thank you for coming back, puppies. Alright, so let's go ahead and deal with all the rocking while I go ahead and swap this to auto. There we go. And I'm just going to come on in here and quickly rename things because there's not that much going on. And let's call this... What do I want this to show up on the HUD? You know what? Let's call it the Ice Queen. That seems funny. Alright, now let's go ahead and get all these thrusters into a single group. Save that, and now I don't need to see them anymore. And yeah, alright, so let's go ahead and go to connector connected. And now we are going to go ahead and select actions. So when the connector is connected, we are going to go ahead and turn the thrusters off. And when they are disconnected, we are going to turn them on. When the connector is connected, we are going to set the battery to recharge. And then when it's disconnected, we're going to enable auto. We will also go ahead and turn the ore detector off and then turn it back on. Um, You know what? We can go ahead and turn the gyro off and on too, because, why not? Um, yeah, let's go ahead, actually come back in here. Let's hide that there. Dun dun dun. We don't need the event controller anymore. Okay, and now when we come in here, I've got this connecting. I have my open and close hanger. And then I also want to go ahead and stick in 1 to view. So now let's open the hanger. Okay, and let's carefully pull the ice queen on out. Close the hanger. There we go. And now let's get some altitude. Bye bye, puppies. Alrighty. So, I've got 30 minutes of power with the full battery, which is plenty enough for what we're doing with this. Basically, this is a neat, nifty little personal transport ship. I almost want to make the tail a little bit longer. But, anyways. So what we are doing now is we are going to take advantage of the remaining light, and we are going to scout the area. We need to find an ice lake. So let's keep going up. Okay, there really is not a whole lot around me. The other thing that we are looking for while we are here is if there's any place that is jumping out at us as like good spots to put our future spaceport or put our farms. I'm kind of thinking that wherever we find this ice lake, we will go ahead and put the ice lake down, and then we'll try and find some points in between the ice lake and the mining outpost to then go ahead and oh my, this high and still haven't found anything? Hmm? Hmm? There anything popping up that looks like an ice lake? And I am falling. Perfect. Nothing over there. I see snow-capped peaks, which I suppose could work in a pinch. Alrighty then. So, let me eat some kelp crisps. Alrighty, so we have exactly nothing that is visible as an ice lake. Considering how many ice lakes are on the Earth-like planet, I think that's a bit of an accomplishment in and of itself. So I'm just gonna like go in a direction and see if anything pops up. Wow. mean, I know ice lakes are going to be more like in a valley of some sort, but anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and pause recording a little bit and come back once I have found some ice. Alright, and we are back, and you can see kind of over there, it looks like there is an ice lake. So let's go ahead and zoom in. Yes, indeed it is. So, first spot found. Let's go ahead and, while we're flying along, look at the path back to the base. Alright, so there's kind of like a little ridge line that we can get up the cliffs over near where I've got the GPS marker for Ice Mine. Follow that ridge line. The ground is not all that nice, but still technically roverable. The ground below us is also, I believe fun is the correct term. And we've got another little crevasse that would be, I might need a bridge if I want to rover between these spots. So for flying back and forth, this is perfectly acceptable. For trying to like get rovers between them, this is not the best spot for an ice lake. So, the next thing that we need to do, okay, that's just a graphical glitch in the voxels, is, well, I can definitely settle on top of the ice lake. Just like my own headcanon says that it would make more sense to settle on the shores of the lake and then like put your mining out over it. So for that, I want to have some somewhat easy access to the shores, to the lake from the shore. Oof, that is definitely what's called a fun times with the rover. Would need to set up a bridge or something. Alright, so how is this ice lake looking? Let's start slowing down. There's also some ore over here. Let's see if we can come close enough to find it. Ice, you don't say. Nickel. Iron, nickel. Maybe there's some cobalt over here too. And let's take a look around for nice, easy access points. I mean, I could probably like get a rover out there, but then that cliff right afterwards is fun. Alright, so overall, I'm going to go ahead and do GPS Ice Lake 1 and see if I can find another one. Because while this would work in a pinch, I'm not all that happy with it. Just get a bunch of altitude again. See if we can see anything else from here. Let's look over here. I'm not sure if that's a shadow or an ice lake. I think that's an ice lake. Let's go check that one out. Getting to that one would also be quite fun. So let me go ahead and come back once I'm a bit closer. All right, and we are diving in on the ice lake. You can see that there is some sort of ore in the middle. I am not coming up that cliff. But this here is a nice easy access, whether for rovers or other vehicles. Also somewhat easy access over there, it looks like. Yeah. Okay. So I'm liking this one better. 22 kilometers away. So that is definitely a thing. But I really like the idea of just sticking a base right there. And then that can kind of push out and start eating up the ice lake. Magnesium, nickel, silicon. So let's do GPS, Ice Lake 2, Magnicil. And then let's also pop in here to my GPS locations one. And also just add iron and nickel to that one. Alright, let me eat some more kelp crisps. And SCSB manufacturing facility? Huh. Wonder what that is. Well, I've got 20 kilometers to get back to my base, and I need to see what the route looks like. So might as well just check this out, because I'm not going through there with a rover. So let's see here. If I come out there, I could be coming around this ridge and going right past this manufacturing facility. So let's see what this is. Okay, so it's basically a little storage shed. I've got an interior turret, a Gatling turret. That looks like about it. I am definitely in range of their turrets. I like the exhaust pipe for the smokestack. Yeah, so we've got a beacon, two exterior turrets. I'm betting there's an interior turret in there. It's got compact antenna, beacon. Yeah, reasonable little facility, but most importantly, it is not hostile when I am sitting, well, very close to it, so. Alright, so I went driving out. I need to drive around this. Oh god. Um, but I can drive around that area pretty easily. And let me keep going up. Are there any other ice lakes? And as the sun is setting, I realize that I forgot to stick lights on this, which, always a fun choice. Alright, so I would be driving around there, driving up here. And I will be back once I'm closer to something else. Alright, so the sun has set. I am more or less back over my base. Um, see, yeah, I'm high up, but it's 21 kilometers to that ice lake and 21 to that ice lake. So call it 22 kilometers to either ice lake. For trying to get to either of them, the best path is actually going to be going up where that ice mine is, trying to navigate through the mountains out that way, and then it kind of levels off to get to either of them. Um, Other than that, I might be able to get a rover out from that little section, but I think I might have just screwed myself on trying to rover my way out of my little valley here. So, with that being said, I guess all of my ore deliveries and everything else is going to have to be with flying vehicles, which I was probably going to do anyways, but you know, I've been doing a bunch of testing for trying to do a flying vehicle that can carry a large cargo grid or cargo container, and it's quite a bit of effort needed to make it fly. Whereas, that excavator, even if it's not happy with two full cargo containers, I can always do something even bigger with even more wheels and even more cargo. So, yeah. Anyways, enough yapping on. Let me come on down. Fall from the sky like a birdie. Woo! We can get a nice view of the base in the dark. It's actually kind of cool here. Just seeing that all lit up like it is. Um, and yeah, I think we'll land the Ice Queen at the parking garage. And then probably go ahead and call it an episode there. Gonna need to do some more scouting next time the sun is out to try and find some more ice. Or ice lakes, I should say. I would love to have one closer than 20 kilometers, but I've got about 90 degrees covered and haven't found anything yet, so we'll see. Alright, keep coming down, keep coming down. Maybe I should have put like a bottom camera for docking, but nah, nobody needs to do that, right? Alright. Oh, I was way off. That's why you would use a camera. All right. Um. So if you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.